Hello, Daryl here. The channel is Programming in Any Language. The supporting website is programminginanylanguage.com or black-duck.com. They both take you to the same place. And it's a place where you'll find the videos and PDFs of the code. The video is Parameterized Constructors and Overloading. Classes are meant to be reusable by many different programs. They need to be flexible. They need to accept data from different data types. They need to be able to accept data or not accept data based on the program using the class. This video shows you how to set up a class to accept numeric data as either a double or a decimal. It also shows you how to set up multiple constructors so a program can pass data or nothing to the object. The reason for this is you want to be able to use your class in multiple programs. Those programs can be written with any data type without you needing to worry if the class can handle it. We're going to use a debit card class as an example. It will be set up to handle transactions from different banks. One bank might have a program where deposits and withdrawals are coded as doubles. Another bank might have a program where the deposits and withdrawals are coded as decimals. Our class won't care. Here's how this works. Today we're going to look at something I call the credit card class. It's an application that shows you how to bring money into and out of a bank account, basically, by moving withdrawals and deposits into those accounts. And it's using a class to do so. An object of a class is actually being created. And the interesting thing about this is the class has a get accessor, but it has no set accessor, yet the methods within the class enable you to change the balance field in there. We call this parameterized constructors and overloading. There's two little objects we're going to be looking at here, parameterized constructors and overloading. We'll discuss each of those as we get into this. To look at a parameterized constructor, we'll look at the debit card class right here, which I've set up on the screen here. And we're looking at a decimal balance field, basically a backing field called decimal balance. So this is going to maintain the balance of your account that you've got in there. It might have money in it, might not have money in it, who knows. We then have this public debit card, decimal starting balance. So we're putting money into it right away. As soon as this class is created, this parameter will create the account with a certain starting balance. And that balance could be anything. It's going to be coming from without, as it comes in, because you're going to pass it this amount of money, $1,000, $500, whatever. And this balance is equal to the decimal starting balance. We then have a get accessor right in here, which will return decimal balance up here. So it's a read-only piece that we're getting here. And it's basically December internal balance is what we can grab. We also have a void deposit method where we pass it an amount and we end up taking that decimal balance and adding that amount to it. So this basically doesn't change the balance directly. It instead adds it to the balance. Same is true with withdrawal method down here. We end up taking an amount from the outside, bringing it in, and subtracting it from the balance to make a change to this debit card field amount sitting up here. A constructor that accepts arguments is known as a parameterized constructor. And as you saw before, we got public debit card, decimal starting balance here. This decimal starting balance equals DEC starting balance, decimal starting balance. That's our constructor. It's a parameterizing constructor because it has a parameter. And what happens is you're able to use it in a form like this. So when you build this and you start this program, you immediately have a balance field here. And now the whole purpose of this program is to be able to operate by depositing money or withdrawing money from this debit card balance process that we're going through here. What happens is when you create an instance of the debit card, you create my bank card, and it's equal to new debit card, but there's a parameter in here, $1,000 going into this thing. And when we do form load, we can actually grab that amount and create our form and get that internal balance so it starts out with the amount sitting right in here right away. So somewhere in the program, we're actually creating the class, the instance of the class. Form load grabs what's in that balance and displays it here. Then that debit card class starts to work. We can actually use the deposit to put money into the account by simply passing that money and getting it added to the decimal balance right up in here. How do we do that? Well, basically, we put money into the text field, press the deposit button. What happens is that money gets put into the DEC amount field right here. So if the decimal, try parse, grab it in. If it's valid, we're going to put it in decimal amount. My bank card, deposit decimal amount is going to be sitting right here. And we're going to take our label, my bank card, decimal internal balance to string, and deposit, and we show it right here into the amount field. And that in turn is going to update decimal balance by doing the plus equals. So we can see the amount is coming in from the text file. This is our deposit button that we're actually pressing right here. So we're going to grab this field, and if it's valid, we're going to use it. Otherwise, we're going to say invalid amount. If it's valid, we then take my bank card.deposit and use that method to increase the balance. So my bank card.deposit, this is the deposit method right here. I'm going to pass the decimal amount, going to go to the amount field, get increased, and up it goes. So that actually puts the amount in there. The result then is once that amount is put in here, we can then look at the try parse. The next statement here is the label balance.text. My bank card.decimal internal balance to string. We're taking the internal balance, whatever's in that internal balance, after it's done the application here, after it's done the add, and passing it to the balance field. So we're actually getting that thing and making it appear. Our label.balance is popping in over here by doing that internal balance to string. Withdrawal, very, very similar. We have the withdrawal method. It too is looking for our decimal amount as our parameter. And we're going to take that amount and subtract it from the decimal balance. Looks like this. The $400 goes into the amount field. We press the withdraw button. So we end up pressing withdraw, and we do a try parse on this. If withdraw is a valid number, it'll go through this code. If it's not, it'll kick out a message box saying invalid amount. But if it is valid, my bank card.withdraw is going to look for the decimal amount. So the withdrawal method is going to get used here, passing it DEC amount, decimal amount. That goes down into here. The withdrawal method gets used. The amount field gets subtracted from the DEC balance. So now the DEC balance is whatever it was less the $400 that came in here. And our next process then would be to jump down and take our label and send it to string so we can actually see what it is now by taking the balance amount and popping it in there and making it work. So it's all very straightforward when you look at it. It's a little confusing at first, but it works nicely. So you have no step parameters, it just gets, but you have methods that will adjust the field up on top, the balance. Also got method overloading. Suppose you're using a class on an application that needs to pass a double variable to the method instead of a decimal variable. How are you going to do that? In this application, before you call the deposit method, you have to convert the double variable to a decimal so it can be passed to the method. If the deposit method could accept either a decimal argument or a double argument, it wouldn't be unnecessary to convert that double variable before passing to a method. And this is accomplished by something called overloading. The first method accepts a decimal argument, which is added to the balance property field. The second deposit method accepts a double argument. It uses a cast operator to convert the value to a decimal and then adds it to the balance property field. Overloading. Sounds confusing, but let's take a look at it. A class can have multiple versions of the same method. This is known as overload method. So if it has multiple versions of the same method, it's called overload. How does the compiler know which method to call? Binding relies on the signature of a method which consists of the method's name, data type, and argument kind of the method's parameter. For example, now we're going to take a look at this. We've got actually two methods right in here. Public void deposit decimal amount. And we've got public void deposit double amount. And both of them take this decimal balance and add an amount to it, as you can see. In this place, it's casting the amount to a decimal. Here, it's just taking because it already is a decimal. So there's two methods here. How does the computer know which one to grab? The process of matching a method with the correct method is known as binding. How it's done is this area right here. Deposit double is the name of this method. Deposit decimal is the name of this method. So it takes that whole front piece here and looks at it and sees that that's the difference between these two things. So it gives it these names. That way, when you pass an amount and it finds the amount as a decimal, it's going to use this method. If it finds out it's a double, it's going to jump down to this method, which is going to automatically convert it for us. So we don't have to worry about it. It just takes place and does it. Again, the process of matching a method call with the correct method is known as binding. Now, constructor overloading. We just saw that in the debit card method we're looking at before, the bank card method. We basically had a parameterized constructor going in there, taking $1,000 or whatever we passed it and going into our application. The constructors can be overloaded. This means a class can have more than one constructor. Each version of the constructor must have a different parameter list. As long as each constructor has a unique signature, the compiler can tell them apart. In this case, we have two constructors, and this is our debit card constructor. Public debit card with nothing in it, and public debit card decimal starting balance. If you pass it something to debit card and it's got an amount in it, it's going to accept it as a decimal coming, and it's going to use this area right here. If you call the debit card method without passing it anything, it's going to grab this thing and set the balance to 0 as it comes in. That's really the difference what we're seeing here. So we've got a method, we've got a constructor up here with this balance equals 0, and one down here which is going to have a starting balance in it. So if you pass it money, it's going to use this. If you don't pass any money, it's going to start a balance of 0 as you go into this thing. So let's put this to work and see what's going to happen if we try to take this debit card balance and take a look at this thing. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my code. I'm going to look at my form, and just so you have an idea of what's going on here, we've got LBL balance sitting up in here. We've got this text box called TXT deposit, TXT withdrawal, and we've got the buttons, button deposit, button withdrawal, and exit button. And that's basically the extent of it. So that's all we're really using here. We have no class up here yet. We have a form that has no code in it right now. So we're going to have to set this thing up, and we'll make that work. The thing to do first is we're going to set up our class and make that thing work. So I'm going to go through into my debit card demo here, and I'm going to add my new class to it. So we're going to add a class. We're going to call that class debit card and add it. And there it goes. We've got our parameters, and we're all set to go with this thing. We're going to create the balance field in here right away. So we're going to go right into here, and we're going to pop that in place. There's our field. We're then going to create our constructor. So we're going to go right down in here and create the debit card constructor. Public debit card, this equals 0. So nothing's coming in. It has a parameter, but there's nothing in that particular parameter. We're also going to create a second constructor. This one is public debit card also, but decimal starting balance. We're going to actually accept the parameter coming in. So if we use this program when we actually put money into the account as we're creating the instance of the class, it'll use this area right down here. If we pass it nothing and just create the instance, it'll use this one up in here. We need our get accessor right now so we can get the dollars out there and paste it into our program, and we'll put that right in here. So decimal internal balance. This is going to be our read-only property that's going to return this guy right up here, our field up here. We're then going to create our deposit method. The deposit method is going to look something like this. Void deposit method amount. It's going to accept an amount field from the calling program, and it's going to take that amount and add it to the DEC balance. So automatically our field is going to get increased by this balance. Same thing withdrawal. We're going to go ahead and pop that right in here. So we've got our withdrawal decimal amount, subtract it, and that's going to automatically create that. I'm going to add one more deposit method in here. We're going to overload this thing. And right in here, I'm going to create a second deposit, and it's going to take in a double amount. So if we happen to use a program that's using a double, it'll use this guy to convert that to a decimal and make it work. If we're coming in with just a decimal amount, we're going to use this. So we're adding all these little pieces into our class to make it a little bit more friendly. This allows you to share your class with a number of different places, and it allows you to know that it's going to work the way you want it to work, increasing that balance properly. Let's go forward. We want to go through now and create the pieces that we have here. Let's do our exit button first because that's always the easiest to get out of the way. So we'll simply pop that in here and close our form. And then I'm going to go up on top here. And what I want to do under the form, right under this piece right here, is place my bank card. I'm going to do two kinds right away. I'm going to set this thing up like this. I'm going to set it up with a private debit card. My bank card equals new debit card with nothing in there. But I'm going to have this little guy right up here ready to be uncommented so I can test it two different ways and see what happens if I pass it $1,000 in there and make this one commented out. So we're going to set that up so we can do two things at once here. Then we're going to go down to our form load, And I'm going to go to my form and open up form load by clicking on the form itself and popping this in to display that starting balance. There. Right now, we have nothing coming in, so we can actually close this thing or save it and then run it. And our program starts to work. And you can see the $00 amounts in there. This won't work yet because we haven't programmed the withdrawal or the exit. Let's go one step further and let's comment out this guy and get rid of our comments here and pass the $1,000 into our debit card. We'll do a file save and we'll do a start. Notice the program starts out with $1,000 in it. It's grabbing this particular parameter. So it's knowing which of these particular things to use. Which of the constructors to use when it actually comes in and makes that work. So nice. Now let's go forward and exit this thing out and go ahead and create our deposit and our withdrawal. I'm going to set this thing up by going into our form and going into our deposit here, double clicking on it and getting that deposit button ready. What I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring in two things. I'm going to set it up where it can be a double amount or a decimal amount, depending on what I want to actually grab. I'm going to comment out the decimal amount though now, and we're going to just take in a double. So I'm going to code my double then and lay it in here. So if our double tripartite deposit amount, we're going to send it out to the double text, which was our double amount right here. And then it's going to go ahead and grab that, use the deposit method inside our bank card, and it's going to update it, and we're going to clear it then. Otherwise, it's going to show invalid amount. The same thing is true with the withdrawal. In this case, I'm going to set it up where it's a decimal amount. So my decimal is going to be set up right here. So we're going to be taking in a decimal amount. It doesn't make any difference in the text box. We're typing in a number in there. It doesn't really matter much what we're actually going to have. It's just how it's going to convert it when it comes in and how it uses it in the class. In this case, we're going to be sending that decimal amount in here. If it's valid, we're going to be using this. Otherwise, we're going to show invalid amount. We're going to use the withdrawal decimal amount and then send it out and make it all work. This should work as it is right now. So we're going to go ahead and close this guy and run it. Now we started out using the $1,000 in there. We now know that we can actually deposit some money in this thing. If we look at this, we're going to be putting in a, let's say $50.33. We'll put in this. It's going to go in as a double. Right now it's text, doesn't matter. So we're going to bring it in, we're going to convert it, we're going to do a triparse to a double and bring it into the system. What does that mean? That means it's going to be using the method that looks for a double and makes it all happen. We'll hit deposit and bang, it added the 5033 in there. Take a look at the debit card class and you can see it used this guy right here. Here's the deposit. We got two deposits here. This is the guy it used right here, the double, and it converted it to the decimal amount. And the withdrawal, we can do that thing right now and put in $99 even, withdraw that, and it drops it down 951.33. What happened with the withdrawal? It simply brought it in as a decimal and subtracted it from there. That worked just fine. Let's go in now and let's make some subtle changes to this guy. Now we'll set it up so that it's taking in no dollars at all by blocking out or commenting out the debit card by bank card with $1,000. We're not going to pass that in at all. We'll leave our form load alone. Our deposit's fine. Our withdrawal is fine. The withdrawal is working with a decimal amount. The deposit is working with a double amount. Doesn't really matter much which we use here, as long as our class can take it. If we wanted to change this thing to decimal, we just have to take a commenting off here. And we have to change this code in here to be accepting the decimal instead. So we want to say decimal here. And in fact, we could just do that if we wanted to. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll comment out this. We'll comment out this, or open that up so it's a decimal coming in. But notice the errors we have here. It points it right out. So we need to say a decimal. DEC here and DEC here. So we're changing it like a different program coming in. What happened here? Oh, I see why. Duh. Try parse double. You got to change this too. You're not seeing the error here. So this has to be changed to a decimal as well. There, now it's happy. So you've got some conversions to do if you're going to do this kind of thing. That's why you wouldn't do this. Another program might be set up from some other banking establishment or whatever that's using decimals and other ones using doubles. But in your program, you're going to set it up one way, where it's a double or a decimal. The thing is, the class is going to be able to take either. Doesn't matter what the class does. The class is going to be able to handle both because the deposit method is set up for a decimal and a double. Here's a double coming in, here's a decimal coming in. It converts it all. It makes it all happen. So you're doing all that work in the class. So it doesn't matter too much what the calling program is actually doing here. Let's see if this thing works. What are we doing right now? We're actually coming in with no money, and we're using all decimals. There's our program. No money is in there. We can go ahead and make a deposit of $100 right away, and there it is. But we needed 50 of it, so we're going to put in 50 and then withdraw it. So we're down to $50 now, and we just got paid, so we're going to put in $967.23. Add that, and suddenly we're over $1,000 here. And now we can we're getting another 10, and we'll withdraw $10 from there. We're down to 1,007. So it works just fine. So basically, what you're looking at is a way to set up your parameterized constructors to take in money or not take in money. Basically, if you're going to send it a parameter or not, if you're going to send it an amount or not send it an amount, you've got two ways of actually being able to handle this by having two parameters or two constructors that'll work for you. One is going to take in no money, one is going to accept a parameter and will take in some money. So you can set up your class to take in both. The other important thing to know about, and we can do this in withdrawal too, but we only set up our deposit to be able to take in decimal or double. We could have done the same thing with withdrawal. In fact, we probably would want to, but we do the same thing again. We'd actually create a balance equals decimal. We'd cast it again and set it up so it's that way. So that's really it. So that's what you're looking at when you're looking at parameterized constructors and overloading. Sounds confusing like crazy, but it's not once you understand how it's being made. It's really looking at, okay, this guy's different because he says deposit decimal. This one's just deposit double. That's how it tells the difference. Okay, debit card, nothing. Debit card, decimal. Okay, it's got a different name, so that's how I can tell what it's actually using there. So that is basically parameterized constructors and overloading in a nutshell. And we'll see more of this later. Actually, we're going to put this thing into an application so we can start saving it and have multiple customers come in and actually use this thing. You'll see that in the application section. The video you've just watched shows how to create a very flexible class. It doesn't, however, show you how to implement the class in a program where multiple customers are maintaining different accounts. We need to first learn how to store class type objects in arrays and lists. You'll see that in the next. Thanks for watching. Visit the website when you get a chance. And please subscribe to the channel. There's more stuff coming every week. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.